Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for tuning into the HD podcast. Long time no see. I know it's been, like a year. I was looking at the dates the other day, and there was like, I don't even know. It was like our first episode was well over a year ago. But man, it's
When was the last episode? Like right before COVID?
yeah. I remember we were talking about going to the bachelor party and doing like stuff like that.
Oh, really?
But man, time has flown. It's been crazy. And, I texted you the other night and I was like, hey, let's get it going because, man, what a freaking year.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little review in this podcast, but I mean, if I can sum it up in one word, it's been 2020.
Yeah.
This year's been hectic for Hunter and I. Hunter's got some we're in a different spot. Hunter actually bought a house about 2 months ago, which I'll let him get into that. But it's been a great year actually in terms of business stuff for us. I know obviously the world's been in chaos, but in terms of us, in terms of momentum in life, I guess, and just
Yeah,
kind of our situation,
sure.
it's definitely been a good year.
Yeah, I mean, I made an Instagram post today and I was talking about how this year's the best year of my life. And it's just weird to think because of everything that's gone on, like for someone to say, oh, this year's the best year of your life.
Right.
And no, I was just thinking like, man, it's certainly been outrageous. The blessings that have came this year in every aspect. But I mean, just starting, like if we just start with a timeline, I'll just kind of go off the timeline from our last episode and kind of where time has gone. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to drag on for, but I guess we'll just we'll have to wait and see when we're done. But I mean, we can start it like February. I mean, February 2020, maybe even before that, January, because our last episode was in my old place, and so now we're in the new place. But February this past year, we were planning a bachelor party because we were like, oh, yeah, I'm getting married in May, so let's go ahead and get the bachelor party out of the way in February. So we booked a trip to Nashville and spent 3-4 days there and had a phenomenal time. Definitely made some great memories.
Yeah, good timing too. It was right before the tornadoes hit in Nashville, like the week before it hit. So it was good timing. It was pre-COVID, so I mean it was a phenomenal time.
A literal tornado, not actually. COVID wasn't a tornado; it was a tornado that hit Nashville. Because you had two tornadoes. You had the literal tornado right after we were there. Because we woke up one morning, I sent you the article, and it was like tornado just destroyed.
Like right at the spot we were at the entire trip, pretty much, or most of the trip.
Crazy. But yeah, so we went there, flew, stayed in this nice little Airbnb there. And then, so that was in February. Great trip. And then we get back, I'd say March, stuff started tightening up. COVID started really, coming into the U.S. Some of the hotbeds were really starting to blow up. And then April, everybody knows what happened in April. I mean, everything shut down. And so I know you were pressed for what you were doing, health insurance. People were scrambling to find health insurance. I mean, how did COVID and back in April, try to think back, how did that affect the health insurance industry? Because I know a lot of people, they don't maybe know how that happened.
I mean, so health insurance, so people who I think lost their job, for example, or couldn't work or just went from full-time to part-time maybe, a lot of them lost their health insurance. So they had to go through like the state and whatnot. What I specialize in is self-employed people, business owners, and the market stayed pretty steady with health insurance. Obviously, some people were scrambling to buy health insurance just in case it did get COVID.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, there wasn't a huge influx.
There wasn't a big boom from, like, people like, oh, man, COVID's coming. I don't have health insurance. Let me go buy it. It wasn't anything.
Stayed pretty steady for the most part.
Wow, who would have thought? Because, I mean, I didn't really worry that much about health insurance. But you think, like, people that are considered at risk, how they may have thought if they didn't have it. But I guess they have, their government benefits and their health insurance.
Yeah, I think who it affected the most was, again, people who maybe were bartenders and weren't working and had no income to maybe pay for their health insurance.
Gotcha.
And, some of those guys they're paycheck to paycheck. So
yeah.
One paycheck loss, you can't pay for health insurance for the month.
Jeez.
So I think that kind of class of people it affected the most with health insurance. Gladly, a lot of them did get like Medicaid programs and state programs, so they were able to get something. But obviously, it comes to show that. I think it comes to show that you need to be prepared financially as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you can't really. I think a lot of people lost confidence in the government.
Yeah.
In terms of what's going, especially right now with what's going on, right?
Dude, it's crazy because one of our episodes was talking about prepping for a recession.
Oh, that was right. I remember that
and it
episode.
was like we had no idea that COVID was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But going back to the timeline, I hypothetically created in April, the stock market tanked. So, dude, every single stock you could think of, no matter what the business was, what the company was, nobody knew what was going on, and everything just. Dude, I remember looking at like my entire portfolio and everything that I had over the past 3-4 years, just gone. Like my 401k fluctuates, everything fluctuates, but everything was just tanked straight to the bottom. And people were scrambling. People that were buying homes from me were like, I can't buy a home. And they're like, oh, you should discount your home because, the COVID's a huge thing and it's going to cause a recession. And obviously we're on the tail end of it now, and if we would have been making this video back then, I'm sure we would have went into that more, but where we are now.
So did you have people that like put a deposit on the house down and said, I'd rather just give you guys a deposit and not buy the house instead?
Oh, dude, I personally didn't have any situations, but yeah, people, when they purchase a home from us, they put a deposit down, they lock it in, so say they have 30 to 60 grand locked in to buy a home, and the stock market hits, and they're hoping that their 401k cash out can pay for their home or whatever the case may be, or if they lose their job. We're having a ton of people 24 hours. They had a job for the 6-7 months of the duration it took to build the home, but 24 hours before closing, they were doing, employment checks because the lenders didn't want to lend a $400,000 home to someone with no job and no income. So it was a really unique time, but yeah, I ran into it, just seeing people come after me, wonder what was going to go on. But the stock market just extremely tanked, man. And I'll tell a story about a stock that I lost on, and I am kicking myself so bad, dude.
Did you like sell too early and then it went straight back up after a few months?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea.
Let's hear it.
So everybody knows Barstool Sports and Barstool Sports.
Yeah, they're in the Penn, right? Penn Gaming,
Yeah,
Penn
so
National.
in April, when COVID hit, Penn just bought Barstool. So I was in on Barstool a little bit, like on what they were doing, and I knew that they were going to make it big. So the Penn stock was at, I want to say maybe 9 to 14, maybe somewhere around there. Maybe it was even higher than that. Maybe it was like 17.
Wow.
It was something like
No,
that.
that's when you bought in?
No. So that's whenever it was.
When it dropped.
So it dropped from like $17 to $4, right? So
Dude, it's like at 90 right now, I think.
all right, chill. So this was back in April.
Yeah.
And at the time we were looking for a house. We were house hunting. So I had money to like put into it, and I was just like contemplating, like, do I put the money into it or do I buy the house? Whatever the case may be. What I did is I bought probably like $700 worth at $4, just like, because I didn't know, like, it's a gambling thing. Like, casinos were shut down. Penn runs off of casinos, like, and casinos were shut down instantly, and who knew how long they were going to be shut down for. But I knew that at $4, because if you look back, every single stock's all-time low was at this time. You could have done this with any stock, but this one in particular I bought at $700. I don't know how much it bought me. I'll just do the math here. $700 bought me, let's see, 175 shares at $4, right? So 175 shares I have, and I'm like, oh, great. So it shoots up to $17, probably like the middle of May or end of May. It was probably, I don't remember why, but it went up, and I was like, oh, shoot, $17. Casinos were still nowhere to being open, because in May, you remember, I couldn't even have my wedding in May, because the wedding was scheduled for May 23rd, for those of you that didn't know. So May 23rd, around that time, whatever, I went ahead and sold my Penn stock for $17. So 175 shares times 17. So yeah, it was about that. So I turned that 700 into about 2,900, right? So I was like, oh shoot, this is awesome.
Yeah,
you know,
4x pretty much. Yeah.
pretty much. And I was telling myself like, oh man, how it's not going to go higher than 17 because whenever I first looked at it before COVID, it was at 17. I think around Nashville's when I was looking into it, and I was like, man, this is going to pay for, I don't know, whatever, you know. So flashback or flash forward to now, 175 shares of Penn stock. What do you think it's going to be?
So is it $90 a share right now, or what's the? Because I think like 2 weeks ago, that's when Dave Portnoy put up to like 90.
Let's see, what
I
is
saw it
that
on Twitter
today?
somewhere.
So today it's at 88. So that $500 that I put in, and or 700, whatever what it was, 700. So that 175 shares at 88, it's about 15 grand.
15 grand.
So that's just one situation, but I was this close away from putting like 5 grand into that. So if I would have put 5 grand into that, dude, we'd be talking about much higher numbers. I mean, you could do the math on your own, but I mean, 20 grand now and that would have been like 370 grand. Yeah, if you would have put 20 grand in at $4 back in April, you'd have made 300. I did the math.
That's the game, man. Yeah, I mean that's the game.
I'm just gonna show you. So it was 20,000 divided by 4 gives you 5,000 shares times 88, $440,000. $440,000. Dude, you could have changed your entire life on a drastic scale, but that's just a small situation. But the opportunities in that are always to be made. I'm kicking myself on it. Everybody's kicking themselves on something, but it is what it is. It's only money. It's short term, and we'll move on from it.
And I want to. You bring up a good point, and it's like crazy. I know people are like hating billionaires at this point because they're making so much money,
right?
But you have so much leverage when the market's like this. When you have cash,
absolutely.
And there's pretty much two people. There's people who are kind of scrambling and worrying about where's my next paycheck going to come from because of stuff like that, and there's people who have saved up money, knowing that when stuff like this happens, everything's on sale.
Exactly.
And they take advantage of it.
75% off stocks. Heck yeah.
It's like Black Friday for stock. Obviously, it's terrible what's going on to people.
Yeah.
But financially, if you're smart and have stuff saved up for situations like this, you can 100% take advantage of it and leverage it to your advantage.
Absolutely. And if you got to have the gut for it, I'm telling you got to have really the gut. And I know throughout this whole COVID thing, stock trading with people our age has become huge.
Everyone's doing options. Everyone's doing like looking up like buying courses.
Dude, Robinhood, everything in that has became something that nobody could have ever predicted. And quite honestly, it's gone good. But I've seen some stories where kids have, spent every last dollar they have or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's a mess, but you really got to have the stomach for it because you never know what's going to happen with that.
Well, I think it's shown kids, young kids, or just people in general, that it's better to have something you can control in terms of like a self-employment type of business that's almost recession-proof.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, yeah, because at that case, you're not depending on such a variable because that's all the stock market is. You get a bad headline. I mean, look at Tesla, for instance. That thing has gone all over the place. But you get something that gets a bad headline, who knows where that goes? You know what I mean? Like, it could go so many different directions. But it'll happen for the best, and it is what it is. Stocks go up and down, or they're only going up, whatever you believe. And, yeah, that is what it is on stocks. But let's keep rolling. I mean, so that was April. So April shut down. May had a little beach wedding. Everything was still pretty much shut down. I know your office was still pretty much open, but
Florida we're closed down for like 2.5 months. I mean, Florida was obviously one of the states where things were a little more lenient. And then after, I don't know what month it was, but I think when things started kind of slowing down, that's when the restrictions lowered for people in Florida, and bars are starting to open with restrictions. But at least you can go do stuff.
Dude, that is huge because you brought up a great point. Whenever stuff started leaning up, that's when people from those other states started flocking to Florida. And we all saw the headlines. Florida was a hotbed, whatever the case may be. I'll tell you what it was a hotbed for is our market. Because whenever we opened up, dude, so many people flocked to Florida from New York,
New York,
Boston,
New Jersey,
Connecticut.
Ohio.
Keep it going.
I mean,
Midwest,
just
Northeast, West
so
Coast.
it's
Florida
kinda like,
was on
Po-
fire.
Politics aside, people in blue states came down to
Exactly.
Florida to have more freedom and
That's
you
it,
know,
dude. 100%. And the benefit that I personally had was I was on the forefront of a crazy real estate market that was created because nobody could have predicted that it was coming, and it just
And dude, it's not just
blew
you. It's
up.
big companies. It's Tesla. You know, Joe Rogan came down to Texas.
Absolutely.
I think they're even talking about the stock exchange moving it down to like Florida or
What?
like something I saw.
Oh my
Like, they're
gosh.
like I don't know if it's the exact exchange, but like the processing something about moving down to Florida.
dude.
Billionaires coming down just because of less taxes.
'Cause
it's
those
just-
cities
it's such a
have
different
been-
it's such a different lifestyle from blue
Exactly.
states.
Exactly. Because I mean that's the thing is the lifestyle here. Once people get a grasp of it, then it's like I'm never going back. Look at Tom Brady, dude. Tom Brady sold his crib up in Boston and is like, you can't catch me dead up in Boston or in the Northeast ever again. This is a kid that grew up in Southern California, went to Michigan, played Big East football in the freezing cold, played in New England and Boston, comes down to Florida for 7-8 months and says, I'm never going back. Imagine how influential of a person he is. How many Patriots fans are not saying, hey, I'm doing whatever Tom Brady does. But no, imagine how many people think that way, come here for vacation, and with COVID going on and realize, wow, I'm bouncing. I can sell my place up there because people from the city want to move outskirts. It's a crazy, crazy market elsewhere. But you're seeing it in New York is huge because the biggest thing that's happening in New York, I mean, from a real estate thing, is people in the city are starting to work more remote. So all these people that have been working in the city, dealing with riots, dealing with commuting, all that crazy stuff that city life, urban lifestyle has to offer, it's not the case. New York's shut down. Indoor dining shut down. Everything's shut down. So now what you have is people that have been living in the city that now have the opportunity to work remote are then flocking to the outskirts of the city. So, for instance, Long Island, New York, is just outside of the city. So the markets there skyrocketed huge. What happened from the Long Island market, so the city buyers are going to Long Island to buy, the Long Island people flock into Florida, causing a crazy influx. And that's not only Long Island, it's Boston, it's Connecticut, it's New Jersey, it's Chicago. All those major cities, people are getting out of their urban lifestyle to let their money take them further. And then whoever's selling their homes up there, whoever was on the brink of retiring, is deciding to make the move down here. And we're getting the tail end of it where, I mean, I don't even know the statistics, but like 50% of people move to Florida to retire. Well, that 50% probably increased 50% because more people decided, I just want to retire and be done with whatever this lifestyle I was living or whatever I was dealing with, and come and then cash out their 401k because they sold their house for $100,000 more than what they wanted because the market's crazy where they are, and they buy here and the sky's the limit. And repeat, and we didn't even get into the election or nothing, but that had its own take on it as well. And it's just been repetitive, one thing after the next, and it's out of control.
The election was a totally different story too. I mean, that could be an episode in itself, but it's really interesting to see. I mean, kind of where we're going into 2021 with Biden. I mean, do you think there's going to be an actual change and stuff with Biden becoming president?
Worldwide, yes. I think that you're going to get a lot more kind of how it was back when, 2008 and stuff, whenever the government, we really never knew what was happening because since 2016 till now, it's just been like one scandal after the next. Government's been the number one hot topic on everybody's radar. You turn on CNN, they're bashing Trump. You turn on Fox, they're doing something. I mean, neither of us are.
We've never been so divided in terms of parties.
Exactly.
Like, ever. It's been. I've talked to someone in my office she's actually in the Political Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And she's been in politics for 30 plus years. And she's told me, Danny, I just never seen anything like this. At this point in time in my political career, I've never seen it this bad.
No, and it's the truth, and it's been out of control. And whichever way you lean, I mean, you got a whole army behind you. So neither of us have really been truly like crazy political, but I just know that there's going to be a change either one way or the other. Maybe it goes off the rails. Maybe it doesn't. So it just depends, and we just play and go from there. But in the meantime, we just kind of ride the wave. I think this is what I keep telling people, but I believe it as well. Is no matter what happens, where we are in Florida, as long as we keep our governor, as long as everything stays the way it is, I think in Florida we're going to stay a really strong state because we have one thing, a lot of real estate, and then beautiful weather, and it's one of those situations where a lot of people have a destination. They're thinking of where they want to be in their head when they retire or where they live. And the thing that's happening in Florida is a lot of these developers and builders, they're taking that vision that people have created and put in their head and copy and pasting it to real life. And so regardless of how the economy turns or market turns, Florida's going to stay strong, I believe, because it's just that's what's going on. People are investing so much into that I just described that it's almost too good to fail. And I know that's like a big prediction, but that's really, what I see happening in this area. How that affects health insurance, that's a whole nother animal.
We've had conversations on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but there might be some changes in the next couple of years that might affect kind of my position at work. But we're just going to play by ear. Keep on building until something happens, and then you just pivot, you adjust. You can't really be scared about what's going to happen.
Key to adjust. Let this sit here. But go ahead, keep going.
Real estate market.
Yeah, what about it?
Do you see interest rates like staying as low as they are for the next quarter or 2 quarters? Or do you think they're going to start picking up, once maybe summer hits?
Yeah, absolutely. So I read an article. Sorry about that. I had to plug in the juice. But I read an article talking about interest rates and bold predictions for 2021 real estate market. And one of the biggest ones was the interest rates. And it was like, they're going to remain at 3. Main reason for it, because that's what it's kind of been at all year, is about 3%. So no big change in the interest rates. San Antonio, Tucson, and Tampa were the top 3 cities people are going to be moving to over 2021. It's not going to be any more. Keep in mind, strictly a prediction. Nothing. That's it. Predictions. No more homes are going to be purchased. Then it's going to be the most homes purchased since 2006. What else was it? It was like the most home ownership percentage since 2006. The most homes built since 2006. It's crazy. Yeah, and it was like one thing after the other. It was almost kind of scary because you're like, wow, like where's the secret or where's the downturn? And honestly, just prepare for a shift. But dude, honestly, like we're getting such an organic buyer that's moving here. It's not Florida residents buying 3 or 4 homes like it was back then. It's literally people moving here for their primary residence that have actual money. So it's like it's out of control to a point where there's justification by the people moving here versus, buy a home because like it's the cool thing to do, 'cause that's kind of how it was. But that's the bold predictions, is that it's just going to continue to keep growing and climbing, and interest rates are going to stay low because right now, honestly, the housing market is powering a lot of these economies during COVID. Because you're getting so much turnover, so much change in the real estate market that it's tending to veer more towards the positive end of the spectrum versus creating any sort of negative effect. The negative effect would be that there's not enough construction workers. I mean, that's it. There's not enough construction workers building these new construction homes. But we can get into that. I mean, that's what I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But
so I kind of want to pivot from here and more talk about what our expectations are for 2021. Yeah. Like goals, just stuff we want to accomplish. Like for me, I'll get started. So something I want to do is something I haven't done. Is I want to travel more this year, so I want to take a trip every quarter to a different state.
Nice.
I have like Austin planned, potentially Chicago,
Nice.
like San Francisco. So every quarter, we just take some money, go on a little trip.
See the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome.
Work stuff. I already have my work goals for me, for my insurance stuff. So now it's just about kind of building from here. But yeah, just seeing more than I ever have this year. That's a big priority for me. Obviously, with COVID, we'll see how that goes in terms of because I'm not going to go to Nashville because of how it is. It's not the same as it used to be when we were having fun there. So
it's not.
Just getting a vibe for if I go to this place. Just doing more research. If I go to this place, how's the environment going to be? Can we be more free? So things like that.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Dude, that sounds awesome. I mean, that was my goal for 2020, to be honest, because I was planning on traveling the whole year, and I did a little bit. I went up to Tennessee 3 times, same place. That was, love it, Gatlinburg. So that was a good bit of traveling. But dude, that sounds awesome.
And for us, right? We go at least 2 golf trips this year, I'd say. Like 1 or 2 at least.
Yes.
We've talked about Gatlinburg.
Yes.
And definitely like a trip somewhere, for sure.
Perfect. I mean, those... Let's go. 2021. Here we come. No, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, with me, it's a lot of, traveling, making the most out of each day, and not letting, work stuff get in the way of family stuff, get in the way of life stuff. It's most of just that, man. Going, experiencing, seeing the world, traveling different places. We had a trip planned to Italy for our honeymoon, and all that got shifted this year. So we'll see if that's a possibility in 2021. Probably not, but go somewhere. I don't know where to go. I mean, because you said depending on how well to spend it. I mean, I know. I always wanted to go.
I said San Francisco, and I thought about it. I'm like, nah, it's probably closed the hell down, dude. Immediately, even Chicago too. It's more of a I don't know how it is. Austin's red state, so it's probably a lot more free. Maybe like a St. Louis type of area, or
no.
I'm not sure.
A couple of destinations I think I want to run into are gonna be. Kind of want to go see Vegas. I know Vegas is open. Never been out there, so that might be pretty cool. Maybe take a trip to Wyoming, because I always see the mountains out there, because I always go up to Tennessee and those Smoky Mountains, great, but I always hear the Colorado, Wyoming area, nothing like the Rockies in that whole space. I wanted to maybe see a Lake Tahoe, go something out there, do something along those lines, but who knows. Maybe go out west. I guess you could say that's my 2021 travel goal, is to make a trip out west, because Rachel and I have been planning it for the past 2 years and haven't brought anything to fruition. We've just road tripped it up to Tennessee. So maybe go out west this year. We'll see what happens. But
I think it'd be a lot of good content too, going to those places and talking about it or doing something like that.
Yeah,
I think because we haven't been as consistent with this, obviously, with everything going on. So I think something cool would be obviously we've talked about doing interviews and going to places and just talking about the experience on here. I think it'd give us more stuff to talk about
for sure,
and just more content to put out.
Absolutely, yeah. If we can just. Because we've had so many ideas come up, and it's just one of those things where we know who we want to bring on the show, and we have great, people that want to come on or talk and just brainstorm. But it's just we just got to do it and find a way to make it work. But yeah, we got a ton of potential going, and we're setting, the forecast now. No true set numbers, but if we just forecast it and come up with some sort of game plan, I think that we'll be able to at least hit 80% of the game plan, and that'll be successful. So don't set our goals too low. Make sure you set them just above the bar. But no, that's great. What else you been doing other than golf? I know Danny's picked up a ton of golf this year. That's been his
I
COVID.
feel like 3 times this week, last past week.
That's his COVID resolution. So a year ago now,
I just started playing.
just started playing.
Year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
When'd you give me the set? I think it was last summer.
Must have been last summer. Yeah. So last summer, gave Danny a golf set, and he got the itch, and we could go in on golf topics. I mean, it's just like one of those things. You
No,
know?
and again, it's just like it's cool because like
We talked about this too. We also want to go to golf places and kind of review like resorts and just courses. So it's stuff I want to do and just stuff I want to document more and talk about to
Absolutely.
put it on here.
Absolutely.
Because I think we do a lot of cool stuff that we're able to do because of what we do for work.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool to experience that and pass out the info. So yeah, I mean, another goal of mine is go check out a new course maybe every 3 weeks. Go to I'll travel an hour to Tampa or to Fort Myers.
Throw in
and
a
check out
couple
new
course vids.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, there's an awesome guy. I think I told you that at GM Golf, and they just 4 kids, great personalities, and they're just golfing. They document the whole thing. It's funny as hell.
Because I mean,
they're a lot better than I do. They're a lot better than us, so it's a little easier
you
to
and I,
watch.
we have some crazy conversations and good times out on the course, so it's just hilarious to watch, and I know that it'd just be fun doing, just looking back on what we put out there, and
It'd be cool to remember some of the conversations we've had on the course.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's
we have 4 hours of just
that's
none
it.
but messing around.
Absolutely, dude. It's such a great time, and you go out there just to kind of network with one another, and we meet such random people out there. You encounter so many different variables, and it's such a mental thing that you really see who people are when they're on the golf course, because you can get so pissed off just
yeah.
getting mad. And
Me last week. Yeah.
So it's a good time, but no, I mean, it's just play more golf. Another goal for 2021. Hopefully we can come somewhat close to that, man. I just hope that I hope that we can just get at least 3 rounds in a month, 1 a week, or how many weeks are in a month? 4 rounds a month. That's it. If we could do that,
and I want to do at least 1 round outside of Bradenton Lake Ranch area. So I want to venture out to St. Pete or Tampa, or go to Fort Myers, or go hang out with Marcelo for a weekend.
big dreamer,
Go do that.
big dreamer guy.
So now we can, so we wake up a little more, a little earlier.
Yeah.
Drive the hour, play a nice course.
Yeah.
It's I think it's very doable.
I think so. It's just a matter of doing it. But no, man, that's great. What else you got?
I think that's it, man. I think it's a good way to wrap up the podcast for this one and keep it nice and short. And we kind of told you guys, why I've been missing, what's happened obviously this year, and kind of what we expect to do next year, and kind of what our goals are, our intentions are, not only for our personal life, but also for the podcast.
Right.
It's something we want to kind of branch out more and do. We want to put out more content. And again, mostly to kind of just tell you of what we're going through as young business people, and also just documenting so that 5 years down the road, we're a little older, we can kind of go back to this and say, wow, kind of look where I was at 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where
Absolutely.
we're at.
And we'll get into, because I didn't even get into the house buying stuff or disc profile stuff. I want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do disc, what?
Yeah, the disc profile stuff that we've learned.
We'll talk into some of that some of the research, we've looked up on that. I mean, a ton of different topics that we can go on and on about, which I'm sure in this it may have just dragged on, but just so many different things, So we'll get a routine going, and then start pumping these bad boys out, and then get the information out there, and keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Sound good. Guys, thanks for joining the HC podcast. We're back. We're going to try to put content every couple of weeks out. Then you guys join in, and we'll see you next time.